Good day.
Hello.
You all. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm wonderful. I have been thinking a lot about how to open today's show. I kind of prefaced this yesterday to you, and I was thinking about this post that I had written a few days ago on the internet, and I think it's interesting. The post is it's interesting because I think a lot of people are trying to be motivational in the content that they create. They try to entice someone by saying something, like not like spammy or anything or clickbait or anything like that, but like they try to be like others, like, oh, this person's motivating me, so therefore I need to motivate them.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was running when I thought of this, but it basically the line is don't be motivational, introduce people to cool stuff. If it leads them to trying it out, rad, but don't intentionally try to be motivational. Right. Just like with you, like you were running for a long time. I saw that. I didn't want to run. And then at some point it clicked and I was like, oh, I should try that thing too. I've seen it with myself with some of the Ironman races that I've done and stuff like that. But even from a business perspective, it's like, you don't have to be so quote unquote motivational. Just introduce stuff to people like, hey, like I'm trying this thing. I thought it was cool. You might want to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it just seems like everywhere you turn now, everybody, even more so, everyone is starting a podcast. And I mean, it's amazing to me that as long as it's been around, we're still very much at its infancy.
Don't you think podcasts are just like blogs in the past where people are like, oh, I need to do this or I need to create this social channel? It's just another one of those things.
Yeah.
And they're not going to put in the effort into it that needs to succeed. So then they'll find the next big thing.
Yeah. And so based on what you were saying, it's the thing that rings true is like, so I was just talking, if all things, it's really funny. My wife has just started a podcast about human geography. And so like, how do I, because these are like 10 pound brain people that she's talking to. And it's like, how do you,
she's the host.
Yeah, she's the host. So that takes me to the whole Jason Calacanis thing that we were talking when he was talking to us about reps, and it's like, how do I pull information out of these people that are super, super smart? And it's just like, hey, I mean, you're 3 shows into this. You've only taken 3 reps. And she's like, gosh, but you and Zack, you play off of one another, the chemistry that you have with one another, it's great. And it's just like, yeah, but this is show 102, so we've taken 101 reps up until this point, and we still have a long way to go before we get to that next level.
And to articulate that information that we've been discussing in a relationship for 10 years now. So we can feed off of that too.
Right.
Then the things that we historically talk about, we have at least 10 years of experience doing. So it's not just 101, 102 reps in that case. It's a long time of reps in that stuff. Well, and I don't know where she is on her rep scheme of human geography.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting just in the sense of, so I go back to something that I heard Joe Rogan say many years ago. And he was like, hey, this is a conversation that I would have with this person either in person or while we're doing this podcast. So as long as we're having a conversation, if an audience is there, it's great. If it's not, I would have still had the same conversation anyway. So, with that piece of advice that has always stayed in my mind, it's been really, really beneficial to me. And I think to those that are looking to start a podcast or are really new into the podcast thing, because if you try to be all things to all people or try to talk about what your audience wants to hear, I think that you're going to fall flat.
Yeah, I like to think one of the things that I used to use as a way to ask people to be on the show, it's like, hey, you wanted to get together anyway for coffee, whether I know you live in my area or not, virtual coffee, whatever. I'm going to ask you the same questions that I do here that I would there at a bar, at a cafe, whatever it might be.
Right.
I'm going to ask you the exact same questions. And I think not changing on that is important. Before we dive into today's guest, Harry Rodriguez says, when you open a business, what should be my main concern? I think a couple of things. Make sure you have a ton of capital available and ready. Make sure you're going to use that money for the actual marketing of the business too, not just the product of the business. And then 3, make sure that before you go all in, like you have a couple customers that are pretty ready to pull the trigger. And what I mean by that is, don't ask people, hey, when I open this, will you buy from me? A lot of them will say yes, because it's really easy for them to say yes. To get that wallet out and that credit card out, that's the difficult thing. If they're not willing to buy, it's going to be very difficult. And so those would be my kind of 3 main pieces off of that.
No, I think the same. Yeah, I mean, you certainly have to understand what the problem is that you're solving. You can't have a solution that's looking for a problem. So you certainly have to understand what problem that you're solving. But I'm listening to a book right now that was really, really interesting because it totally flips the script. And so it's called Working Backwards. It's written by the guys that were with Jeff Bezos back in the early days of Amazon. So when it comes to doing something like this, starting a business or coming out with a new product or whatever the case is, they start with the press release. And so they write the press release before they even start on the product or whatever it is that they're getting ready to release. So that way you already have the customer in mind. And you already know the features, the functionality, the price, what the capabilities are. And so if you start with the press release, then you can work backwards. And then when you talk to your development team and everyone else that's involved, marketing, sales, then you already have all that stuff identified. It's a pretty interesting concept.
Who wrote that?
Bill Carr was one of the authors. But it was a recommendation on Jason's book club that I'm
Working Backwards. It's interesting. A lot of people from a content perspective, from an SEO perspective, think about that end play and then pull back off of that. Noah Kagan, someone who I followed for a while, he talks about that strategy too. Not necessarily from building a product, more from a marketing perspective. But I always thought that was interesting. All right. So without further ado, we're going to transition to this week's guest.
And based on the advice, as we're getting ready to bring our guest on, I mean, this is a conversation that I'm looking forward to having, because we don't know, other than talking a few minutes before I joined, before we went live. This is the first time that we've talked to Julie. So it'll be fun.
Welcome to the show, Julie.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's exciting.
So we get some pre-notes beforehand. We put out like a little survey, have you ask some questions. Neither Tim or myself knew much about you or the business beforehand. And going through that, the thing that was really interesting to me is that you opened the business October 2020, when all the headlines were every business in the world is dying. And so you do the flip-flop of that, and you open a business that is fairly unique. And I want to talk about opening the business, but kind of like the inspiration of you trying to find your calling, which like a lot of people are in that part of life, and they feel like, am I doing what my calling is? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be setting out to do? And you happen to be on vacation one day, and it kind of happened there. So walk us through memory lane.
Oh, 2019. Wow. Can we get just rewind to 2019? It was such a great year for us. My husband and I took a honeymoon vacation 5 years after we actually got married, and we went through England. And I was unemployed for about, and by choice, for about 5 years, because I just wanted to find that niche. What job is there out there, or what business is there out there that reflects Julie Easterbrooks and her family. And so we were down the street from Robin Hood Park in Nottingham, England. and walking down Fire Lane, I saw Kitty in the window, and I did a snap jerk, man. I just went right in there, and we paid £8. We had scones, we had coffee, we had a little umbrella that goes over the plate because cats were actually in the cafe. And so we really enjoyed our time. I was looking at the catwalks, the design, and how free and natural Kitty Cat Cafe in Nottingham was. How the cats just, they were the boss. They were the special ones. And so we picked up a cat, and I just looked at my husband and I said, hey, I think I found my next career. And he lit up. He was so excited and so supportive that, I wanted to actually purposely become a crazy cat lady. And,
Well, the thing that's so interesting is that you have birds behind you. So I don't know if that's just something to stimulate the cats or what.
Well, actually, I'm in the kitten room right now, where we have cats that are under a year old, and then we have another room that's mostly adult cats, and they have their own TV. And I put on the YouTube channel so that they can, watch the mice and watch the birds at the bird feeders. And so, yeah, they have their own TV over there. The kittens, not so much, but.
Were you always a cat lady? Maybe not the crazy cat lady, but were you always a cat lady?
Cats and horses. And I was a dressage instructor for a gazillion years. And then I was a phlebotomist for the American Red Cross for 7 years. I resigned, and that's where I kind of had my, place where I was searching, But yeah, I've always had cats. I always loved cats.
So take me. So you made the decision. You told your husband, "This, I think I found my career." What happens next? I mean, I am super intrigued.
So before we left England, I actually had two couples of friends that were all in. They were like, yeah, we've got to do this, because they saw the pictures of the cats in England. And I said on Facebook, hey, well, we ought to open up a cat cafe in the States so we can help our cats over there. And they were all in. And so up until April, we had 3 couples, working together to get the business plan, to go to environmental health, to work on getting the loan, and us doing the fundraising for Kitty Kingdom. But in April, that kind of broke up because of COVID. The other 2 couples decided to bow out, and I'm just stubborn enough to say, okay, well, we'll just do it without you.
So there was going to be there was going to be a couple other partners in the business. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then COVID hits, they bow out, but it's still in your mind. You still want to rock and roll with it. Interesting.
Well, as I said, the thing is about opening a cat cafe is that we naturally mitigate against disease. We've been hand sanitizing before COVID. We've been washing our hands before COVID. We do the disinfecting. We kill 99.9% of the germs regardless, because we don't want the cats getting sick.
I always thought it was interesting that the things our parents taught us, wash your hands, clean yourself, all this kind of stuff, is like those were the things that they were telling us at the beginning of COVID. It's like, hey, don't be a dirty fool. And we had to remind people, like, hey, like, wash your damn self, like after you touch stuff. Like, it's just that always, like, I'm a germaphobe anyway, and I became an even bigger germaphobe during COVID. But like, I will open a door now, Tim, so don't feel as bad about that. There were times where I didn't want to touch a door, Julie, during COVID, because I was like, this is disgusting. I don't like.
Well, you could always do Niles Crane and carry a handkerchief with you.
Yeah, I'd use my foot to like pull the door open somehow. Like, I would. Anyway, okay, so April 2020. Had you signed a lease at that point? Because when I think of England,
place.
You have
Yeah,
it.
we had
Because
done.
when I think of England and you walking through as a tourist in there, like I could see that being, something that would work. But we're talking about Chesapeake, Virginia here, which isn't really the tourist capital of Virginia. So how do you like make that decision or see enough evidence that what I saw there across the pond is going to give me even remotely close to the same scenario as, suburban Chesapeake, Virginia?
I know. Yeah, but the thing is about this particular place is that we are unique in that we really do have a cafe here. We really do have 2 cat rooms here, and we're probably one of the bigger cat cafes out there. We have 3,000 square feet, and the reason we chose this place was because of the HVAC systems. Because of the HVAC systems, and there being 3 different HVAC systems here, we were able to get an architect to design the room so that each one of our segments, our kitten room, our cafe, and our cat room, they have their own air. They have their own HVAC system. And so we are allowed to prepare food, not from scratch, but we're allowed to serve coffee and hot dogs and beef brisket sandwiches, because it's in different air than the kitten room and the cat room.
So if you walk me through, I'm sure that those that are listening probably have this picture in their head right now of what you're describing. Walk us through. Someone walks up to the storefront, they enter the cafe, and what is it? What do people see? What do they experience? Um, Walk us through that, please.
Absolutely. When you walk through the door, you're walking into the cafe section, which is our middle section. And to your right, we have the cat room. And I beg your pardon. When you're walking in, to your left is the cat room, and to your right is the kitten room. The one thing that everybody is, first of all, just really is stunning is the decor. We had distinguished designers do our cement floor, and it's gorgeous. It's painted cement, and it looks really natural. It's got greens and browns and gold colors, and it's just beautiful. It looks like you're walking in a forest. And then we have the bar. We have all different sorts of coffees that we make up, teas, and we show people, or we tell people, what we're about, because a lot of people say, "What is this place?" I've never been to a cat cafe before. What is it that you do? Mm-hmm. And what we explain to them is that we're sponsored by, right now, 3 different shelters are giving us cats and kittens. And I showcase their cats and kittens for free. Then they provide us with food and litter and cleaning supplies. But when one of these cats get adopted, then what happens is the shelter gets all those adoption fees. And so we explain that to everybody. We have them sign in. We have a price list. I keep the lights on by charging an admission fee based on the amount of time they want to spend with the cats. And they want to spend time with the cats for a variety of reasons. We had 2 people that were looking to adopt. They got to see the cat in a natural environment, relaxed, with music, with beautiful art. And some people have landlords that just won't let them have cats, and yet they love cats and they just want to come here and hang out.
So it's not like a situation where people walk in, they're trying to have their hot dog or something, and there's cats crawling all over them or anything like that. It's
I
very
try.
much.
I tried to talk the health department into that, just didn't work.
Because that was going to be a follow-up question. What was it like, trying to explain this to get everything that you needed to get approval from the health department?
Well, when I showed them the 3 HVAC systems, they were all thumbs up. And we don't worry when they come visit, because everything is really clean. We disinfect with alcohol as opposed to, we disinfect with alcohol, and we also disinfect with a veterinarian approved disinfectant. And I just got to make sure everything is pH balanced, that it doesn't ruin the floors and make them, and we don't like anything waxy or sticky here either. So
this is your first business?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Walk me through that. What's it been like? I mean, you're almost, 18 months, 20, almost to 2 years. I mean, what was some of the pros? What are some of the cons that you've learned over the last few months?
Oh my gosh, I've learned so much. And it has definitely been a roller coaster. And I think if I knew then what I knew now, I think the chances are I probably wouldn't have punched through. But then again, we've adopted out over 400 cats. We're helping people, helping rescues by giving them a voice, giving them a showcase where they're showcasing their cats in a beautiful facility as opposed to their garage or an office building. They have a nice environment, peaceful environment. And the cats, some of them aren't even looking for homes anymore. They think they found it. But yet we know full well that for a cat to find a home here, they're better off than just being in this particular facility. We're just trying to make them comfortable, not necessarily let them stay here, ad infinitum.
So what specifically do you think about as to why you just said, had I known what I was getting into, I might not have pulled the trigger, basically. Is there anything specifically that makes you feel that way? Like what was really tough about something? Maybe?
Right. Well, that's a hard question for me to really go into.
I give you, as you're pondering that, I give you a ton of credit for pushing through. I mean, that's one of the things that I love so much about the entrepreneurial spirit is, through the darkest days, you've got to find a way.
That's right. And
is your husband still involved with the business still
absolutely.
To this point?
In fact, he's one of my cheerleaders. He understands that we still have to invest money into this project, and he's not backing down. He's absolutely 100% got my back.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that. So we have another question in terms of any advice for new business starters. A significant other, spouse, whatever the case is. I mean, having that backing and having that support from the very beginning is really, really important because especially during those low times when you're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get through this? Yeah, we've really got to buckle up. We're eating peanut butter and jelly for the next week. Whatever the case is,
peanut butter and jelly is good.
I know. I eat it all the time. It's my go-to lunch. But you have to have that backing and that support from inside your household in order to push forward. And if you don't have it, it can make it for a really rocky road.
Oh, no kidding. As I said, I've never met a man more faithful than Julie Easterbrooks, hands down. And it's also a spiritual thing for me. I don't believe if I have in fact found my calling and I felt, led into this, that the powers that be are going to let me fail. I really had to discover in my innermost being my spiritual self as well, and that God isn't just going to let me down. He's not going to set me up for failure. He's going to see me through, and that's what I really felt happened, especially a year ago when I didn't have any cats and I didn't have any employees, and we had to scramble around. And then the good news is what shelters I did find were really, really, really grateful that Kitty Kingdom did reach out to them, and we got some really good work done.
I mean, think about this, right? You really have October of 2020 to now is what? 15 months, 16 months, 18 months. I'm terrible at math. Just look at my SATs from high school. 400 cats. I mean, that's almost a cat a day. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive if you think about it. There's plenty of people who can't sell a product a day, and you're selling one basically every single day. So kudos to you for that. In there, you said no cats at some points and no teammates, and it sounds like it was terrifying for you. What did you do to push through during that situation?
Yeah. And but we did. It was like one of those, God closes the door, opens up a window, and he opened up two windows, Little Roar Cat Rescue and Squishy Face Crew in Fredericksburg, and they started bringing me cats. And this time last year, I had paws on the floor again, and it's taken a bit to get into the groove. Now I have Scat Incorporated, I have Garfield's Rescue helping us out along with Little Roar still, and we're doing it.
So
I've got two cats that are applied for today that might find a home, later on this week.
So for those that are listening that aren't familiar with Virginia geography, you said Fredericksburg, and you're in Chesapeake, and from a drive time, I mean, that's
2 hours at least.
I was thinking three.
Well,
three and a half hours.
Half hours, and but we have they've gone on to bigger and better stuff. They moved into another facility, and when they did that, they thought it was cost ineffective to bring their cats down when they had a big facility in Fredericksburg. And kudos to them. I totally understand that. And then, but we have Garfield's, which is up in Kilmarnock, and they have a 2.5 hour drive, and they have the lion's share of the cats here. And we ended up, I think, doubling their adoption rates in 1 month, and over the time we've managed to help them adopt out more kitties just in the beginning of the year than they adopted out all of last year. So we really helped them out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, to me, that's another really great stat number to celebrate. Is, I mean, if you have people that are traveling that far to support you and the mission that you have, that's pretty significant. A lot of people can't sell anything to start a business, let alone having supporters driving from that far away. What do you attribute to getting the word out? What different types of marketing or messaging did you implement to get the word out about what you're doing?
I wish I was more media savvy, but I'm not. What I did do is we finally decided to put a lot of our marketing into radio advertisement, and that's helped significantly. Every once in a while, I get an employee that is really good on Instagram or Facebook, and we really benefit from those particular kids that know their way around social media. But one of our biggest ways of getting cats or getting customers in for our cats and kittens is through Pet Finder or Adopt a Pet. My shelter, Garfield's, is a member of Pet Finder, and they tell Pet Finder that their cats are in the 23322 zip code. And we get a lot of people to come in and see the cats from what they hear about the cats on their pet finder search. That's been a huge help.
That's interesting. So that's that by you being able to use that third party, that other resource, they're learning about you. Mm-hmm. They can come in there. They see that. That's pretty good. Do you pay for that service? Is there?
No, and it's free to the shelter as well.
Interesting. What is it about? What is it about pets that just people freak out over? Like, I mean, it doesn't matter if you post a picture of a dog, a cat, a whale. It doesn't matter. Like a donkey, a sheep, a goat, a whatever, a buffalo. If you post a damn animal online, it's gonna get a tremendous amount of like engagement. Like way more than humans. Because if I post a picture of myself, no one cares. But if I post a picture of my dog, people are gonna be like, "Oh my goodness."
I mean, did you hear about the hotel you can stay at in Texas, where the giraffes will come up to your the window of your room?
No, but everything is bigger in Texas, so
so it's one of those things that I guess that went viral on TikTok, and now they're like booked out for like a year and a half, 2 years, or some crazy thing that.
So it's like a hotel with like an African safari built into it.
Yeah,
fantastic.
But for giraffes, a giraffe hotel of some kind. So.
So I get
there's nothing kitten can't cure. But YouTube started because of cat videos. So
is that true?
Well, it really started their popularity. It was like everybody was posting their cat video, and it seemed that's like when YouTube really started to be noticed.
I bet my mom is big into that. She probably watches cat videos all day.
I have a group up all the time.
We have a group chat, and so she'll send me pictures of like her cats playing on her at work. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
But yeah, I mean, it's just to take that passion and leverage that. I mean, it's really it's interesting. This is one of the things that I love so much about this show is because what you think on the surface, and then once you really dig in a little bit, I mean, you've really evolved the cat adoption, how it's conducted, and just really made a cool thing out of it. So kudos to you.
The giraffe place is called Long Neck Manor, by the way. A guest has texted me the place. Sounds
to answer somebody else's question, what advice would I give to somebody opening up a business? I could not have done this without a mentor as well. There's a gentleman, Chuck Patton, who owns Perfect Day Cafe in Louisville, Kentucky, and he's also opened up 2 more cat cafes in Indianapolis or Indiana and in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, or in another part of Kentucky. Anyways, without his advice, we wouldn't be here either.
When you really chat with him, what do you talk to him about? Like, what are some of the questions that you'll ask him, or some of the advice that he'll give you?
About relations with cat rescues and shelters, about insurance, and about pricing and where most of my income is going to come in. Yeah, we have a great little cafe, and you can depend upon the cafe being like 6 to 10% of your income. You really need to make sure that it's understood that your income, 90% of it is just going to be coming from the admission cost for your cafe.
So I'm curious, what numbers, from a metric standpoint, what numbers are you most concerned with? Is it certainly adoptions is going to be a significant number that you want to track, but what other numbers are you that is important to you that you monitor?
Well, as philanthropic as this business seems to be, it still takes money. Just like any church needs donations for their function, for their group, then we're a social enterprise. We're not totally for profit. We are in a special group of businesses that we coexist because of the 501c3 rescues that we deal with. And so we have to make sure that our payroll is made. We have to make sure that the rent is paid for. I have to have a certain amount of food to sell so that I can keep my ABC license for beer and wine. So those are the other numbers that I really need to pay attention to.
What is a social enterprise?
A for-profit benefiting a not-for-profit. One explanation of a social enterprise was Bombo socks.
Mm-hmm.
Bombos, what they do is for every sock they sell, they give a pair of socks to a homeless shelter. So that's a social enterprise. It's a for-profit benefiting not-for-profits.
It's interesting that you talk about being a social enterprise and how you're on a mission, to help the cats and how this is your calling and stuff like that. I think one of the most important things, though, is that you stay afloat and financially that you make sure that you are viable over the long run. Knowing that, I think a lot of businesses who are out for really good things often forget the financial aspects of it and how important it is that they make money so that they can stay alive. Yeah. Because you hear these stories where nonprofits and great businesses that are doing an amazing thing for a select group of individuals, their target customers, and then it goes away because they couldn't figure out the business aspect of it. They couldn't figure out how to keep putting the lights on and paying for the light bill and all that stuff. I mean, do you think about things like that in while you're doing it? It's like, I have to make money so I can get 400 cats back out. I have to make money in these things because at some point I would think that the money that you're infusing in to keep the business going, that can't be an everyday thing, right? So you have to find a way to have the business make more money. And do you think of it that way?
Absolutely. And how to do that has been a learning process for me. That's why I think marketing is probably one of the most important aspects of getting a business, so that you bring these people in. During the week, it's really slow. On the weekends, we're pretty slammed, which is a good thing. But how can I make it more attractive for people to come during the week is, things that I'm thinking of. I'm trying to think of my most profitable is the interaction with the kitties. And so how can I make that more attractive?
That's interesting. So, there's a lot of restaurants that are busy on weekends, slow during the week. Maybe they're busy at a certain time of day, but not at other places. That's why happy hours were started to try to increase traffic get people in there. And then hopefully that by, decreasing or providing some sort of different value of something in there that entices people to come in there. Have you tried any like group settings or discounted days or anything like that during the week to try to increase that type of stuff? And
absolutely, yeah. During the week, if you book online, you get $3 off the walk-in price. An hour is $15 in the cats and kittens room, and if you book online, it's $12 per person. So, and you still have access to both rooms as well. It's stuff like that. We do have birthday parties here. You can book the room for an hour to have a private event. we have a beautiful, just beyond the camera, I have a pergola. So we spell it pergola. That we have a couple of chairs and tables, and we have a cat safe fenced in area, so they can have a birthday party if somebody wants to surprise their little girl with a kitten and they adopt it. We can have a party out there celebrating it. So, and yeah, there's a couple of ways to save some money and really have fun with the kitties around here.
Pergola.
I know. I have to ask you. So, like, what is the most overplayed pun that you hear?
Perfect. Are you kidding? We have a little kitty jar that you can like say a swear word and not to have to put a quarter into it. But if you say perfect, put the quarter. Really. I don't think we go a day without saying perfect. I've had to come up with different synonyms for perfect, like awesome or fabulous, or that's really nice.
I wasn't going to do this, but I think I'm going to. Okay, so like the probably the most ridiculous show on Netflix during the pandemic involved a crazy cat lady, Tiger King. Did you watch that show?
Oh, I did watch Call Me Cat. I did watch a few episodes of that because Call Me Cat is set in Louisville, Kentucky, and my friend Chuck Patton. So I think what they did was they took the two cat cafes in Louisville, Kentucky, and they combined the particular aesthetics of those two cafes and made Call Me Cat. Because I recognize Perfect Day Cafe in there and the other one.
I just want so the lady who is associated with Tiger King, obviously different style of cats in that world. Very popular social media channels, if I recall. And she would go live, and she would get a lot of people engaged in that type of way. Have you tried anything from? I know you said some of your teammates that come in can help with social media, but has anything specifically on social media that you've done over the past really seem to have brought in a bunch of people? Is it just posting the pictures and the pictures sell, or doing live videos? Is there anything specific on social media that seems to have worked?
Well, Facebook's been our friend. But yeah, I really would love to, do a live shot on YouTube or whatever. There's just so many different things I can say about the cats here. And I don't know if there's enough content yet to do YouTube, but that's something that I really would like to do. I have a genius son who, when he comes and visits, could help me get the equipment that I need in order to do something like that. But once a week on Facebook is basically all that I can do personally, and stay within my marketing budget.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Now that you've been open for a few months, have you thought about the legacy that you're leaving behind, or are you seeing like a second adoption from a family, or I can't help but think that the ripple effect of what you're doing is starting to come back around in multiple ways. Has that happened yet? And if so, what are some of the most meaningful things that have come back to you to say, wow, I'm really, really glad that we decided to do this?
We had one lady come back during Christmas, and she was in tears because of the special gift that she received in the life of this one kitten that she adopted, and how it just filled that void in her soul. And when she came back, she was just extremely generous to the shelters. And if there's like a donation here, it just goes to the credit to the shelters as food and litter that they don't have to buy for their cats here. And anyways, she was in tears. We've had cats that come in not quite whole. And it turns out their personalities are so loving that despite the fact that they were missing an eye or missing a leg, missing a tail, they got excellent homes. We had one gentleman that we had a cat that was FIV positive, meaning it had feline immunodeficiency virus, and which is kitty AIDS. But kitty AIDS is very it's not that horrible of a death sentence. They usually die of old age before they die of anything concerning their condition. But we had to keep this particular cat confined a little bit more than what we like, and we had a generous donor pay for the adoption fees for this feline immunodeficient virus kitty, and we were able to secure the cat into a home where after the gentleman adopted him, he came back 2 days later and he said, I had never imagined that a creature could communicate so much love and be such a wonderful joy. And as good as, and what that told me was, as good as we are here, we really are, as I said before, this is a port in a storm, and the kitties here are very comfortable. They're fed, they're warm, they're safe, they're dry, they're disinfected, everything. There's still no place like home. And they have to have to be who they really are. They have to be home. And it's stories like that basically spoke to me that there is no place like home.
What do the cats do when the doors close?
I think that's when they do most of their trouble and playing.
That's you got to get one of those cameras. You got to get like an ongoing Nest cam or whatever, or a Wise cam, and just let that let that go live on YouTube all day. I bet you would.
Well, we do have security cameras, but yeah, it's funny though. We'll come back in the morning and the place is trashed. I'm like, what did you guys do last night? We had one. They had
their friends over. They called in. They had
They
had the beer and wine. It's
absolutely.
Had themselves a Super Bowl party every night.
So they got into the kitty weed.
Oh yeah, is there a catnip supply someplace where they?
There is. Yeah, and when we're cleaning, they get the zoomies, and it's. We don't have any young kittens here right now. This is cat season. It's not kitten season just yet. It'll be kitten season in about 6 weeks.
It always amazes me as a guy who's had pets my entire life that it seems like there is just always an ongoing plethora, a huge amount of animals that need to be rescued, and I just don't get it. Like where are the cats coming from? Like, and not just from the other facilities, but like where are the cats coming from? What's up with all these dogs out there? Like what world it just seems like it's just wild out there. Like where were these cats before?
A lot of them were outside.
And they had homes and they ran away type of thing?
No. My rescues, what they do is they find colonies and they trap cats that are in colonies. They don't have homes. They were born outside. They were born at the shipyard. They were born behind a Walmart. They were born in a barn somewhere, and they are able to get these kitties. Those that they trap, they spay or neuter. And we have a couple of kitties here that have their ears snipped, meaning that they came from a colony like that. And if you see a cat with a snipped ear, it just means that it had been trapped, it's neutered or spayed, and is sent back out. So if you're a trapper, you know not to get that cat again. Then the kittens are born in foster care. They're salvageable, and they can go to homes, and they get spayed and neutered, get their rabies shots, get their distemper shots. They're tested for FIV and feline leukemia, and they're sent to, they come from those fosters into the rescues, and some of them land here.
How long does it take to integrate a new cat into your facility for them to be socially compatible with one another?
We have two ways. It depends on their personality. We have some cats that just walk in, whatever. And then we have some cats that are very shy and very timid. They're introverts. And my favorite trick is to put them into a large condo. It's a 3-tiered condo. And put them in front of the bird TV, let them be a cat, and let them feel like, they're in a natural, safe environment. And usually those cats, they have a tendency to come out of their shell. And then we have to look out for bullies. One of our cats, if a cat is integrated into the clouder, then we have to, make sure that they're either separated or we just change rooms. We can put an introverted cat in with the kittens, and we do that a lot. And then the other cats, they find ways of placing themselves in such a place where, the bully can walk around a little bit, but they're up here. And then when the bully takes a nap, then they go do their thing, and they make it work. They do. They make it work. Very rarely have I had to send a cat back to the shelter, to the rescue for behavior problems, other than if they spray around the cafe, it's a ticket home. But generally speaking, we can pretty much work with anybody, or at least get a good shot.
You're muted, Zach.
18 months into this, I still don't know how to press on mute. 18 months into this, it seems like it's been a whirlwind. You said the roller coaster. I don't know if you've been to Busch Gardens. Maybe it's the Apollo's Chariot of the kitty kingdoms.
Yeah.
It's where do you envision the next 18 months being?
A little happier, a little better. I think. I think the worst is over. I think us just making it this far with our sanity intact, I think that's saying a lot. And I have hope. I have hope that it's going to succeed, and that my kids have something to inherit.
Was the COVID aspect of it, of getting people inside a facility, did you ever find that was difficult?
No, because whenever we had cats, we had customers.
People didn't care. Got it.
It was not having the cats. That was the worst thing. But then now that I've got not one, not two, but 3, possibly 4 shelters working on my behalf, then we're going to be fine.
Knowing that you want your kids to potentially take over the business at some point, do you tell them that? How does that conversation go? How do they take it? Because it's interesting. I feel like growing up, that was always a thing where it was like, oh, they're going to take over the family business, whatever. I don't feel like it's the same way as it used to be. It doesn't seem like people are grooming their kids to then take over the business. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just doesn't seem like it's the same way as the past. How does that conversation go?
Well, right now, she's still doing her own thing, but I really wanted to have a cat cafe because she loves cats. She's very generous. She's a hard worker, and this was her dream job. And since I built the cafe, it's not a dream job right now. But then again, she's seen how hard we've had to work and some of the obstacles we've had to go through. So I think when the time comes that the place is stable, and we're, we've got right now, we've got a really good foundation for a successful business. We got that foundation. And when we get things a little bit more steady, I think it'll be something that she might like to take over. If not, there's some other crazy cat people out there that would be willing to take over something like this.
What's something that we haven't?
No, we quickly, as we start to close the show. I mean, typically we always have businesses on that are high growth. They've raised significant capital. They're following their passion. But I mean, it's just it's great to have someone like you on the show that is following their heart, their passion, and doing their part in changing their world in their own special way. I just wanted to recognize that with you in the sense of sometimes following your dreams it doesn't necessarily equate to dollars and cents and how much money that you're generating in revenue and what your bank account says. You're making a really impactful. What you're doing is impactful in many, many ways, and I appreciate that. And I've enjoyed having you on the
400
show.
families. I mean, that's a lot. Yeah. I mean,
I think it's 427.
Wow, don't get all specific on me. I mean, don't get all cocky. Come on, Julie. Like 427. Like, no, but I mean that. Like when I said it before about almost a cat a day. Like there are plenty of businesses that can't do 10 in a year. 10, they can't sell products 10 in a year. And for you to have done it that way, and because pets are family, that's a big impact. That's something that will last these people for 12, 15 years. I mean, that's that you're a savior in that regard. And so I'm sure a lot of people are very appreciative of that. And so I commend you for that as well. Kudos to what.
Well, so rescues that do all the work. Trust me, I just make them look good. Wow. Rescues make me look good. I'll put it that way.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
Oh no, just to have people come by, see the place for themselves, and there's ways they can get involved. We're looking for fosters. We're for our faraway shelters, we're looking for people that could locally foster a cat if it comes down with the sniffles or something like that, But other than that, come by, see the place. It's totally different. It's totally unique. And it's a place of peace.
Love it. KittyKingdomCatCafe.com is the website. Check it out. Julie, it's been wonderful chatting with you. And
thank you.
Continued success and have a great day. Cheers.
Yeah. Thanks, Julie.